As you know, Sons of the Forest recently released into early access, and for the most part, reception has been positive. It has left some people wondering what is in store for the future of the game, however, especially since some people do feel like it is a step back in some ways to TheForest due to having some missing features that are in the previous game. It is to be expected, however, as TheForest was in early access for about 4 years, so we can't expect Sons of the Forest to be better in every way right out of the gate. The developer Endnight has a great track record of following through with their plans and continuing to support their games throughout early access as well as post-launch. To corroborate this, recently an interview was conducted by the official Reddit and Discord for the game, with the developers asking them some popular questions from the community. We're going to review those here in a minute, but I have linked to the official Reddit and Discord down below, as well as the YouTube channel Only Reformer, where the interview was originally posted. So be sure to go give those all a follow so you can stay up to date with this awesome game. Before we delve into that though, there have been some items that have been data mined from the game, which will most likely be implemented in the game at a further date. Let's take a look at some of these items and see what they entail. First up, we have some binoculars. I'm sure you can guess what these do. I think these will be a great addition to the game. There are some awesome vistas in this game, and sometimes you just want to scout out this huge world before heading out into a new area. Next up, we have a tracking dart. I'm guessing you will be able to either throw or shoot this at a target, and then it will allow you to track them on your GPS. I'm not sure if it will be a permanent tracking or maybe it stops working after a day or two. I don't know, but it could definitely be beneficial. Thirdly, we got a teapot. This is so we can make some ayahuasca during those lonely nights and find some inner peace in this harsh world, and I'm here for it. Then we got a laser pointer. This is going to allow you to outline the base of the area where you are about to build, possibly to also provide some more detailed plans to Calvin. Here we got a 3D printed knife. I guess this one is pretty straightforward. I think the 3D printer is really cool, so it's neat to be able to utilize that even more. Next up is a charger. I'm not really sure what this one is for, maybe to charge some batteries for the flashlight. Then there's a canteen. I'm assuming this will do the same thing as the 3D printed flask. Not sure why we need both, but hey, more options, am I right? Lastly, we got a mountain pick for scaling mountains and caves. This is cool, and it is something that I feel like the map and the levels don't really accommodate for that type of locomotion, at least not yet. But I'm sure in future updates this will definitely come in handy. Alright, that's about it for the Datamined content. Now, onto the interview with the developers by the official Discord and Reddit. Again, the links to all those are down below. First question. Calvin, and Virginia for that matter, scale poorly into the late game. Will Endnight allow the player to give Calvin/Virginia more commands or other things to do? If not, will we see more companions in the future to add more variety? Endnight says, we have big plans to keep adding tasks that Calvin can complete. Some ideas in progress are having him help construct a wall around your base, or fortify/repair the base when needed. For Virginia, we plan to add more to her AI, particularly giving her more bravery if she has a weapon, and also depending on how many mutants/cannibals she has killed. Next question is, who is the character we play as? Will we get more background/lore on them and the other characters in the game, like Calvin, Eric, Timmy, etc.? Endnight says there will be lots more lore and story pickups, as well as extra cutscenes and new areas that will work to expand and flesh out the story. Nice. Next up, will we see improved gore/dismemberment mechanics? Endnight says it is not currently on their list of things to add, but they're always looking at ways to improve the effects. Fourth question asks, what happened to the various scrapped ideas of the game, such as Calvin's original name of Robbie and the night vision goggles, solar panels, climbing axe, battery charger, etc.? Endnight says lots of features are partially in and will be coming in future patches. Calvin actually had a few different names over the course of his development. We originally called him Zombie Boy, then Robbie, which is what we refer to him internally, and finally settled on Calvin. The fifth question by the community is, does Endnight plan to add faster forms of transportation? Endnight says, We do have what we think is a really cool idea for this, but we don't want to go into details in case it isn't as fun as we think it might be or doesn't work well with the environment. Next question. How does Endnight plan to tackle cheating and griefing? We've seen forms of griefing such as killing companions and other players. This is always really tricky, they say. Our hope as developers is that people just be nice to each other, but unfortunately, that isn't what happens. We added the Trusted system as a base tool to handle playing in public open servers. We will also be looking into some ways to limit griefing risks and expand tools for hosts. Question 7. Is there anything planned for TheForest after full release, such as updates to VR and bug fixes? Currently, we are focused on making Sons of the Forest a really good early access experience for players, and we'll decide on future plans once the early access process is close to complete. Question 8. This was a question frequently asked by the community. Is a console port planned for after full release? Endnight goes on to say, we would be really excited to bring the game to PlayStation and possibly Xbox after the early access period, but we do not currently have any firm plans. Right now, we want to just make this the best PC game that we are able to. Next question. Many players are asking for features, but they may already be work in progress. Could we be given a roadmap of features and additional content coming in the future that you can currently share? This will prevent many repeated requests and improve the overall community experience. Endnight says, we do not want to promise features that might not make it, but also like surprising players with cool stuff that they might not be expecting. We do read all the comments and feature requests and try to implement the best fitting ideas. Question 10. Will there be an expansion on the crafting system? Currently, what you can currently craft is very limited. Endnight says there will likely be new items you can craft as we see what items players want and what would improve the game. Question 11. How does Endnight plan to improve the pacing of the game? Players are finding the GPS system to be locating the entire story for them immediately instead of over time, which would give more incentive to build/explore. People have suggested possibly adding a compass and the ability to mark points of interest instead. Endnight says, we have a bunch of ideas that we are currently discussing internally, but don't yet have a perfect solution. We do agree it's an issue and some players are just running all the way to the ending instead of living/existing in the world. Question 12. Will there be more building options? Currently, the freeform building, while very unique, is also very limited in what you can actually do, such as the ghost blueprints. Endnight says there will be new ghosts added as well as improvements and extensions to the freeform system. Question 13. Does Endnight plan to add more enemies and mutants or change the ones currently within the game? Some players have expressed how little they see them or how little variety they seem to have. We have at least one character that wasn't ready for the first launch, and there may be others we add over time, including variations on some of the current enemies. Question 14. Cannibal camps are currently very small, and other than fighting the player, the cannibals don't actually do a lot when it comes to their own communities. Will we see an expansion of their camps added over time? Endnight says we do have plans for this, adding more ambient actions for the cannibals to do around their villages and also visual improvements such as more types of structures they can live in to give the different camps more variety. Question 15 is, when will support for dedicated servers be implemented? Endnight says this is something we are working on in the background, but we don't have an exact date just yet. The 16th question is as follows. Does the team plan to add additional building materials and a robust crafting/cooking system? Endnight claims that they do have a prototype of a more advanced cooking system, and it will likely come into the game in a future patch once it's further developed. Question 17 is, why was early access announced so late? What are the plans after early access? Endnight says that we really struggled with deciding if we would delay a further 6 to 8 months or release in early access and have the community help us get the game to the finish line. We had such a good experience with our first title in early access that we eventually decided that would be the best idea. The 18th question is as follows. Will we see more wildlife, such as bears, wolves? Endnight says we don't currently plan on adding bears or wolves, but possibly other animals. Next question. What will the bi-weekly updates look like? Will it be quality of life, or will we see the addition of new things and improvements over the game? And Knight says we will likely alternate between 2 to 4 week patches depending on what we are trying to get in. Each patch will include different things, from further story/cutscene additions to new features and items with lots of bug fixes and other improvements. Next question. Has the success of Sons of the Forest made the team evaluate how far they want to take the game and maybe push back the 1.0 release? And Knight says, we have a rough estimate of 6 to 8 months, but we'll be constantly reevaluating as the development progresses. We really just want to make the coolest game possible. Question 21. The developer said before that they wanted to do DLC in Workshop. Is the Workshop still priority? And is DLC still planned post-launch? And Knight says, we should be able to talk more about this further into the early access period. Question 22. How does the team plan to expand on hunting/survival aspects of the game? And Knight says, we do have some ideas, but nothing concrete that we can share just yet. Question 23. Will we see more prefab buildings and stuff from the first game, or will everything be new? And Knight says, we're trying to add mostly new stuff, but if something that was in the first game makes sense and is fun, we are not opposed to adding it. Question 24. Will the island/environment be expanded upon to make it more challenging? And Knight says there will be updates to the environment throughout the early access period. And lastly, will the log sled make a return? This is one of the really cool things about early access. Internally, we didn't realize how much people really liked the log sled, and due to the amount of bugs it had in the first game, we weren't sure if it was really worth putting back in or not. But in the last week since release, it's become clear that it's something players miss. Bam! There you have it, folks. What do you think about all that info? Does this make you more excited for Sons of the Forest, or do you feel like early access is where you check out? I know for me, I am quite optimistic, honestly. What I've played so far, I know it's not like fully fledged, like it doesn't feel like a full release, and that's because it's not, but I've still been having more fun with this game than honestly anything else I've played this year so far. Alright, that's about it for now. If I missed anything or messed up with any of this, let me know. I'm just trying to spread the word with this game because I've been having a lot of fun with it. Thanks for watching. Super Profundo on the early eve of your day.